All right. Hi there. Good evening, Natalia. How are you? How do you feel today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Great. That's great to know. Let's start with the class. And this time we're going to start by taking a look at the examples and elements that we have, all right, to check for today before we continue with our lessons. All right. So
Mhm.
you tell me, please, Natalia, you're going to guide me. What do you want me to check first? What do you have ready to check?
Yes, well, I try to practice more with whom. I is the reason because you see a lot of examples there. But maybe we can check two examples of whom, and I put two examples with who, and I can read.
Okay, let's do it then, please.
Mhm. Who, the spy, start an investigation about the thief. The thief was involved in a crime, and the sentence is the spy started an investigation about the thief who was involved in a crime. And the other is the secretary scheduled an appointment to the executive. The executive wants a meeting with the customers, and the secretary scheduled an appointment to the executive who wants a meeting with the customers. And this is the two examples with who.
With who, right? Okay, good. You read one first, but I was not able to find it. What was the first
Is
example that you read? Ah, it is before. Okay,
yes.
okay, over here. This one, right? The spy. Okay, and this one, the executive. Okay, okay, these two. All right, so let me check. All right, we're going to see if all the details are going to be okay. So the spy, right, started an investigation about the thief. All right, we're going to see the suggestion. It is just the preposition, but so far it is good. Now we're just going to mark. I think you're repeating the idea about the thief. Okay, I'm just going to be sure that we have all the elements. Okay, so the thief and the thief over here. All right, very good. So far we got what we need. Over here, we're just going to pay attention to this one. They are telling into to start an investigation into the thief. That's a suggestion. Actually, about the thief is not incorrect in this case. I'm going to leave it. All right. Grammarly suggestion
Mhm.
suggesting into, but it is okay. Okay, so far it is good. The spy started an investigation about the thief who was involved in a crime. Yes. There you go.
Mhm.
Now here, the secretary write a schedule an appointment. If you say to the executive, that's not going to be directly related. All right, here we have to change this. You can create an appointment, or yes, an appointment for someone or with someone usually. Okay,
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
someone or with someone. Here, if we take a look at the correction, I'm not sure. They suggest with, but I can say for is also an alternative. All right,
Mhm.
so here we're just going to change that one. Okay, so for or with, and here the same, because everything else seems to be great. All right, everything else seems to be very well done. For or with, one of those two. And here we are repeating the idea of executive, so it is perfect. The executive wanted a
Mhm.
meeting with the customers, schedule an appointment with the executive who wanted a meeting with the customers. There you go, it is perfect. Okay, so with who, or with who,
Mhm.
sorry, I think we don't have any trouble. Right now, you can guide me now to whom, and we check those examples
Yes, about the phone, I have, I'm not sure about a lot of examples, but I was thinking that I have to use whom when I talk about a third person. But this is my only my reflection about my own examples. But then I at the finish of the examples, I am trying to write about a simple examples, a short example, and because I was trying, I was seeing a videos for guide me to, and I put two examples this, and I have I think that is more clear, but I am not sure in general about whom, because it it's hard for me write the examples in this case. I write in the first and the last example. I will write. I have to talk with the worker. The worker is studying with my friend. I have to talk with my worker whom my friend is studying with. This is the first. And the last is Maria is a teacher. I visited Maria. Maria is a teacher whom I visited.
Great. In those two, only if you analyze here, you're going to change something because actually you're not following this, right? Remember, the only thing, and again, I know that this can still make, well, make you feel confused, but what you said is actually something very important, Natalia. There is a third person involved, okay? But not always, not always. This is just, again, the only thing you have to take into account is that the person or the group of people you are talking about is not going to be the subject in the second idea. That's the only thing you have to follow, all right? But here, if you analyze, actually, if you only show me these two sentences, it is incorrect. But your combination is correct. Why is this incorrect? Because here the worker is the subject of this sentence. To use whom, the worker, because you're talking about the worker, right, shouldn't be the subject. Because here actually you have to use whom. Because if you follow the rules that I was telling you, this is the real result. But here you don't have the real result, but this is correct. The result that you have is correct, but it's because you're not following your sentences. If you were following your sentences, look, again, copy, paste, that's it. What's the word that is repeated? The worker. You delete the worker. Now, what do you have here? Do you have a subject or a verb? You have a verb, right? So what do we have to use? Who, right? Here we have to use who according to this thing that you're showing, right? I have to talk with the worker who is studying with my friend. Okay, this is the real result, and here we are using who and not whom. Why? Because actually you're not following your example. In your example, actually, what you're saying is this: my friend, right? My friend is studying with the worker. Okay, this is what you're saying. And again, you are following now. If you do this, and again, this is the only thing you have to understand very well from this part, is that the person that you're talking about is never going to be the subject of the second idea if you want to use whom. Okay, now actually, if you realize, this is the real result, right? I'm going to delete this. Sorry, I'm going to delete this. And now this is the result that you really have, right? I have to talk with the worker whom my friend is studying with. Okay, and you have it exactly like this. So the example is great. Okay, the only thing I'm correcting is this combination. In this combination, if you really want to be sure that this is going to be correct, the worker is never going to be here, is never going to be the subject of the second idea, right? To use whom is always the second. As here, right? You're talking about a teacher, and actually Maria, right? But you are saying, you are telling me to me that you're talking about the teacher, but actually here you're saying Maria. And if you want to follow this in 100% Natalia, then you are going to actually describe Maria, all right? But again, what you did is correct. Maria is a teacher whom I visited. That's the logic, because here Maria or the teacher is the same person, right? Maria and the teacher, the same person. So this is correct, all right? But again, if you want to follow, remember that actually here you are saying I visited Maria, who is the teacher, of course. But again, if you want to be 100% accurate or precise, you're going to say Maria is a teacher and I visited Maria, right? Two ideas. Now, what is the word that is being repeated here in Natalia, right? It is not the teacher. You are repeating the word Maria, right? That is the word that you're repeating. You're not saying I visited the teacher. If you say I visited the teacher, this is correct, right? And again, it is correct, but it's not 100% precise. But as you're repeating Maria twice, remember the rule. The description is always going to be always next to the word you are describing. So here, this should be in the middle. All right. And the logic that you follow is the same. Maria, whom I visited, right? Now, this is a rule that we don't know yet in Natalia, but I have to use it because you're using a proper noun. Anytime you use a proper noun, you're using Maria, you have to use commas. Okay, why? Because it is alternative. But that's a rule that you don't have to know now. The only rule you have to understand is that this is always going to be next to the thing that is being described. Okay, Maria, comma, whom I visited, comma, is a teacher. All right, why? Because again, in your example, you're talking about Maria. Now, if you don't want to make that change, then instead of I visited Maria, you're going to say I visited the or that teacher.
Mhm.
Okay, now you are talking about the teacher, and now this extra idea is about the teacher. So this idea is correct, and you don't have to change anything. All right, now this is correct. Now, again, your examples are good, but you have to be very clear with that. If you understand every single step as I'm showing you, the worker is the object. So here you are going to use 100%, you are going to use whom. Okay, 100%, because the worker is at the end. Here you are describing the teacher, and here you're saying I visited the teacher. So the teacher is receiving the action. So as you have it here, 100% of the time, you're going to use whom, and it is correct, right? But again, it's not always going to be a third person. Look, here you are not third person, it's I, right? So the only rule, again, don't think of another person. Think that the person you are going to describe is never going to be the subject of the second sentence. All right, you always have to think like that. The adjective, the description that you're going to give about that person is with that person receiving the action, not doing the action, right? And checking briefly, because again, this can be complex, but actually, I think if you see this in a very simple way, it's going to be better than trying to analyze in a deep way. But it's going to be up to you. Why? Because again, analyze here. If you're talking about the student, but actually here also, right? You are not following the example. If you follow 100%, remember, the only thing you should do, Natalia, is copy, paste, copy, paste. But here, the subject is the lecturer. All right, introduce me to this person. Why? Because I think you're talking about a student, right? So here, it's not a student introduced me to a lecturer. Here you're saying a lecturer introduced me to a student. And that's correct, but you have to follow the order that you're writing here down below. Here, you're saying this. All right, the lecturer introduced me to the student. Okay, and we suppose that this student I will meet with a student is the same as this student over here. All right, it is the same. But again, is the subject? No, it is the object. And actually, again, if you analyze, now you're following this order. Copy, I will meet with a student. I will meet with a student. Copy, paste. Whom? A lecturer or the lecturer. Here, if you want to keep that, it's going to be good. Whom a lecturer introduced me to. All right, so it's always going to be like that. This is the object. Here the same. But again, if you analyze, you are not following your second rule. Your second idea is not the same as the idea that you have here. You are changing, but you shouldn't change. Everything should be automatic. Again, if you do the task that I told you, copy, paste, you shouldn't have problems. Why? Because look, I ran into my aunt, correct. But here you say, my aunt lives with my best friend. But here you say, my best friend lives with my aunt. But again, it goes to the same. Yes, it is correct. But in order to be, because if you see here my aunt, you're going to believe that your aunt is the subject. No, your aunt cannot be the subject of your second idea. Here you're saying, my best friend lives with my aunt. This is what you're saying over here. All right. And your aunt, because your aunt here is this, and the information, the extra information that you're giving me is using your aunt as an object, not as a subject. Okay. So here again, it can be any subject, but your aunt is not going to be that subject. Never. All right. That's why you say as the result, I ran into my aunt, whom my best friend lives with. All right. And again, this is now correct because it's the same logic. And to finish, right? This is the same idea. We're going to change this directly to recommendation. Okay, an appointment with, and now, and this is correct. Here, actually, this is correct and the correct order. Why? Because you have the executive, and here you also have the executive. But actually, let me think.
It's
You
the
have, yeah,
same example, but I am trying to change with whom and who.
exactly. And it's correct. Why? Because look, this is the only example, Natalia, in which you are using the executive in the second part. It is an object. And this is 100% correct. Everything here is correct, but you're missing some words. Okay, you're missing some words only. Why? Because you said the secretary scheduled an appointment with the executive, right? Whom the customers wanted an appointment with. You're going to repeat because you're repeating the same, right? But you're going to repeat the same in this case. Okay. But it is correct. It is correct. All right. This is correct because you're using the executive as your object. And that is how it has to be. If you want to use this correctly, the executive, the aunt, the student, the worker, the teacher, they have to receive the action, right? And here, only one observation, the same observation in here as here, Natalia. You're not saying I met on a plane with a Portuguese, right? You're saying Julio. So Julio is the idea that has to be interrupted. Remember, you're giving more information about Julio. So this information over here has to be next to Julio, no next to Portuguese, right? It is going to be Julio, whom I met on a plane. And this is with commas only because Julio is a proper name. Okay, and Portuguese with capital letter as over here. Okay, so Julio is a Portuguese. I met on a plane with Julio. Julio, because you always put the description next to the word that you are repeating. Okay, here you're repeating the worker, so next to the worker, you put this. You're repeating the student, so next to student, you put the second idea. Next to aunt, you put the second idea. Next to executive, you put the second idea. Next to teacher, you put the second idea, if that's the case. But if the word that you're repeating is at the beginning, of course, you have to interrupt everything that you have over there to give me the description, and then you continue with your sentence, right? Julio, whom I met on a plane, comma, is a Portuguese. But this only happens when the word that is being repeated, Natalia, is in the middle over here, because this description is for this word. So it has to be always next to it. But again, if you analyze, all the other cases are not like that because the word is at the end of the sentence. That's why we don't need to make this change, all right? But again, that would be, it's something that we still have to keep processing, but I don't know if you have any specific details just about this correction over here.
No, it's more clear. I understand that if I put the subject as an object, I have to use the commas, like in the example of Julio. And in the other cases, I have to put the person at the finish in the second idea.
Yes, exactly. In all of them, right? Even in this one, right? In the second idea, the person is at the end. Not always at the end, but is the object. So it is correct, Natalia. It's always the object in the second idea.
Okay.
All right, good. Keep practicing again. If you then for the next one you have more examples, it is great that you did this. Your examples were correct. The results were correct, Natalia. All right, they were correct.
Mhm.
If you realize I didn't correct this, I just corrected the second idea. Why? Because the second idea, your second ideas were not following your result, right? Because you
Mhm.
were telling me that the student was doing the action, but that's not true. The lecturer is doing the action over here, right? You were telling me
Mhm.
that the work was doing the action, but again, no, it is the friend that is doing the action. Lecturer is doing the action. Your best friend is doing the action. Here, the customers are doing the action in the second idea. Here, you are doing the action in the second idea, right? So as long as it's someone else, you, anybody else, but not the person that you have at the end, it is going to be correct. All right. So again, keep practicing. If you get to have more examples to show me the next class, you are going to.
Mhm.
All right. Good. But I think we're working very well. Now, I don't know if you want to show me other details, Natalia. Let me know, please. Perhaps here down below, you're going to let me know.
Yes.
All right. Now,
Yes. I
the
am
introduction.
writing the second paragraph, mhm, about the essay, but yes, I I finished, but I'm not sure if that uh, I write correct because I can review again.
No worries. Again, just because we're going to give us a timer and it's going to be 5 minutes. Actually, no. First 2 minutes, I'm not going to need more for
Mhm.
um, the introduction, right? Because you corrected some details about the introduction, right?
Yes,
So that's
only
the first.
two words. The word, however, for therefore, and the first sentences, the catchy idea, I think.
Okay, there you go. Now again, I'm going to read it, and if everything flows correctly, we're
Mhm.
going to go directly to the next part. Okay, 2 minutes. I cannot spend more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Nowadays, many people take the alternative to live abroad to open new horizons for their lives. Okay, in fact, people make this decision because of their country's situation, the citizen insecurity, and the political and economical problems. And they start a new life in countries that, according to them, have more opportunities to progress. Therefore, it is important to analyze the pros and cons before making this important decision. All right? Yes, it feels good. All right? It feels good because everything seems to be connected and you are not showing contrast here, right? You are just going with the flow to go to a final conclusion that is your thesis statement, right? Remember, and this
Mhm.
is just in order to remember, this is correct, but I'm going to make it like this. Okay, this is always going to be the most important part of your thesis statement, all right, or
Mhm.
of your introduction, and actually the most important part of your entire essay. Okay,
Mhm.
because this is your essay about. This is what you're going to develop in the three body paragraphs that you're going to have: the pros and the cons, right? Of traveling
Mhm.
abroad, of leaving your country in order to live better in another country, right?
Mhm.
So good, perfect. It is good. Now, here, great. I spent less than that time. Yes, I did. Now, I'm going to spend 5 minutes, all right? If I don't get to finish everything, just the 5 minutes, and we're going to check little by little, all right? Now,
Mhm.
let's see if we have what we need. Remember, now let's start with the review. So I'm going to read. First of all, it is necessary to be informed about the advantages and disadvantages before moving to another country. All right. That information will be a great help and consider. Okay, here we're going to analyze and consider the immigration is for you or not. Okay, we're going to see that second part. According to, all right, good. So my first idea, I'm not going to stop showing the time. My first idea is that here you use only one color, but actually you are mixing like even 3 steps at the same time. Okay, you're already giving me like 3 steps. The first step is this, only this. It is necessary to be informed about the advantages and disadvantages before moving to another country. That you're telling me with that sentence that this paragraph, only this paragraph, is going to be about the advantages and disadvantages of
Mhm.
moving to another country, right? So it's a lot. I don't know if you're going to be able to develop both in only one paragraph. Okay, I don't see that possible. Why? Because we cannot use a lot of information in the paragraph. That's why we have the chance of using minimum 3 body paragraphs. All right,
Mhm.
in academic essays
Mm.
or persuasive argumentative essay. In the TOEFL, I believe they only ask for 2, but because the TOEFL actually is not going to ask you for academic or scientific information, the TOEFL is going to ask you for your personal experience. All right, but here we're not going to practice directly for the TOEFL. First, I'm going to teach you the academic and scientific way of writing this essay. All right,
Mhm.
and in order to do that, my piece of advice first
Mhm.
is that only decide between the advantages or disadvantages for this first part. All right, because if not,
Mhm.
it's going to be a lot and it's going to be confusing, and actually we are not going to have the number of words to cover everything. All right, but this will be the
Mhm.
first step. The second step is step number 2, and step number 2 is optional. All right, but you're using it, it's great, because we can have 6 steps for
Mhm.
this. All right, like this over here, right? 6 steps. This is the one that you're giving me now, the topic sentence, and you're going to say this. Okay, you decide. I imagine that you're going to start with the, actually you can start with the disadvantages, right, to finish with advantages to make it stronger, but it's up to you. So you can say, first of all, it is necessary to be informed about the disadvantages, right, before moving to another country. That's your topic statement, all right, or your topic sentence. That is your first step. Then
Mhm.
you're giving me extra information about it. This is the second step. This is another color. That information will be, it can be of great help, all right? Because, but here, this is incorrect. If you say and consider if, but this is no, because will be of great help and consider no. Consider is active. Will be, it seems like passive. So they don't
Mhm.
go together. If the immigration, pam pam, so here we have to change something. You can say something like, let me see, okay, we have 2 more minutes. You
Mhm.
can say something like, the information will be of great help to consider, okay, not
Mhm.
unconsider, will be of great help to consider if immigration or the immigration is for you or not. All right, so that would be more or less. I'm going to give you ideas, but you have to see what it is going to be better.
Mhm.
All right, so it will be, not everything will be of great help to consider if, and the next I think can be kind of the same. All
Mhm.
right, but to consider, not unconsider.
Mhm.
Uh, then, according to, okay, World Packers, a community of nomad people, all right, nomads that are working there. Okay, so this is actually, and I don't, perhaps you're using, yes, you're using different colors. I didn't see this, but then this is another color, right? Why? Because this is
Yes.
step number 3,
Mhm.
right? There you go. Good. So we're good so far. According to a community of nomad people that are working while they are traveling, they express, okay, good. That's another color. It seems to be good. The best now here, remember, it doesn't matter what the idea is going to be, it's not here, but we are always going to be either here or capital letter, or we are going to use this parenthesis. If this is part of something else that was said, we're going to say parenthesis with 3
Mhm.
dots and like that. It's not the beginning. But if it's the beginning of that idea, we're always going to start with the capital letter over there. Okay, one of those
Mhm.
2 possibilities. That one or this one.
Mhm.
Okay, the best. All right, so those are alternatives over there. So there
Mhm.
you go. Sorry, that's not equal. This is not correct. Like this. Okay, good. The best option is to build your own experience, but it is important to receive information about other people that uh, did that before you, all right, and can share about their own experiences. All right. Here, only one minor mistake. The period is always going to be inside. All right,
Mhm.
always inside that idea, and that's going to be very important. Okay, those 2 details. Now, again, I'm going to use 1 extra minute that is going to be for the following. And that are working. Okay, it is good. Now here, of course, it has to be still part of the same. Now, here, my final recommendation. If you analyze, all right, because we're going to continue with the feedback. All right, we're going to continue with the feedback. So remember, here, only one of these two. All right, to mention, because actually, this is going to be your only chance, Natalia, to mention some of those advantages or disadvantages. All right.
And I have to choose.
Exactly. Why? Because you're going to give me a list, at least a list of 3, 4 advantages, and a list, or if you pick advantages, or a list of 3, 4 disadvantages if you pick disadvantages. All right. But this is also going to change. If that changes, this citation is going to change. Why? Because you are going to give me in this citation that list of advantages. Okay, so according to travelers.com, right, this expert in traveling or migration, they say the following about the advantages of migrating, for example. All right, and colon, right, and you say when you migrate to another people, you get the opportunity to do this and that. So again, I'm making that up, of course, but you're going to try to state what an expert or someone is saying that is positive about migrating. Or perhaps it's only going to be 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. Okay, but you have to show, you have to develop what advantages you're talking about. And then after you do that here, this is not bad, but remember this second part, it should be 1 or 2 sentences, only 1 or 2 sentences. We have to be very concise. Okay, it cannot be that long. So you can reduce that only to 2 sentences, right? In other words, you have these when you migrate, and that's important for your family, for your future, and also you have that because it's like this and like that, right? So 2 ideas, but remember, they can be simple sentences, they can be compound sentences, or they can be complex sentences. So in other words, actually, you can have not only 2 complete ideas, you can have up to 4 complete ideas here. Okay, 4 complete ideas, but only if you use, for example, 2 compound sentences. A compound sentence is complete idea, comma, fanboy, complete idea. If you have that, that's 1 sentence. Okay, and you have another idea, complete idea, comma, fanboy, complete idea. So 2 more complete ideas, that's another sentence. So if you have 2 sentences like that, 2 compound sentences, you have 4 complete ideas. Okay, so you can do that, can do that, but that's the limit. Okay, no more than that. Any more than that is going to be considered confusing just for 1 paragraph. Okay, it's better if you save that information for another paragraph. All right, so that's it. I'm going to stop here. That's my feedback so far. Then what I'm going to check then for the next one, Natalia, be doing this little by little. Decide what you're going to talk about. All right, change this citation. It is great, but you have to give me something more specific about the advantages if you pick that, or about the disadvantages if you pick that. All right, and reduce exactly in the citation. Okay. And then in the paraphrasing, in the explanation of that one, make it shorter. Be sure that you have a maximum of 2 sentences. And remember, 2 sentences can be 4 complete ideas, but the maximum is 2 sentences. All right. And then I didn't give a feedback about that yet, but make those changes. The next one I'm going to read it again, and we're going to keep improving. But the logic that you're following, actually, it is correct. But these precisions are going to make them even better. All right. Good. There you go. I don't know if you have specific questions about this feedback before going to our lesson. Let me know, please.
No.
Great. There you go. Very good. And little by little again, it's going to result something like this. This is perhaps a little bit longer, but it is going to be your idea. The topic sentence like these 2 lines or 1 line, this 1 line, this also one line and a half. The citation can be sometimes long, 2 lines, 3 lines. This one also should be 3 to 4 lines maximum. All right, that's more or less the extension that it is going to be. 3 to 4 lines. I would say 4 lines and perhaps a little bit more. And then the conclusion also is going to be very short. 2 lines, That's kind of the top that you have, 2 to 3 lines. But again, all of them, remember, are always going to be a sentence, okay? 1 or 2 sentences maximum. But that's it. There you go. Now let's go to our topic for today. If I'm not wrong, now we are going to go to, we were working with relative clauses, uh, these adjectives. Okay, so very briefly, now we are learning that after some adjectives, we use infinitive, right? We were working with general adjectives. We know that after able, unable, anxious, likely, unlikely, ready, prepared, willing, unwilling, we use an infinitive to complement that adjective, right? Unable to work, ready to go, prepared to take the exam, likely to finish tomorrow, right? Anxious to start with my project, willing to learn English, and willing to help that person that I don't like, and so on and so forth, right? You are always going to complement these adjectives, not with a gerund, not with the base form. It has to be with infinitive, right? We know that. Now, this is a new category in Natalia. Adjectives, reason. So please, you're going to read the list of adjectives and the 2 examples that we got, please.
Amaze, delight, disappoint, glad, happy, pleased, proud, relieved, sad, sorry, surprised, unhappy. We were happy to come to the end of our journey. We were happy because we have come to the end of our journey. John was surprised to see me. He was surprised because he saw me.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. Now, very easy. After this adjective, you're going to give a reason, right? I'm amazed to see that show. Why are you amazed? Because I was watching that show, because I saw that show, because I can see that show, right? So the reason is going to be after these adjectives with infinitive. That's the only thing that they are saying, right? We were happy to come. This to come to the end of our journey is the reason why we were happy, right? John was surprised. Why? Because John was able to see me, right, at that specific time. So that idea, it's only reason. The infinitive is going to add reason to your statement. Now, one little correction in terms of pronunciation. How do you read this word or this adjective one more time?
Disappointed.
Exactly. So the just to disappoint, it is also a verb, right? To disappoint. But when you have the ed, as you finish with the or you end with the t, we say disappointed, right? And also here, right? Surprise, surprised, relieve, relieved, right? Please, pleased. So in all these cases, we have to make that noticeable, right? So, but it is great. I don't know if you have any questions about the logic, how you use these words, or any questions about these adjectives in general, Natalia.
No, not for now.
All right. So very easily, all right? The task for now, just pick 2, okay? 2 of these adjectives, Natalia. Go to the document and only write 2 ideas following this logic.
Okay.
All right, let's do it, please. It is short, so we're going to have 2 minutes more or less. After the 2 minutes, we check, or after you finish and you tell me, please.
Okay, I finished.
There you go. So I'm going there to take a look at those examples and we continue.
What
And
is delighted?
delighted, it's very, very similar to amazed when you feel very surprised, when you feel that something was wonderful and you are with your open eyes and you say, wow, right? You're delighted by something that was not shocking in a negative way, but shocking in a positive way. All right. And
Mhm.
even when you meet, for example, this can be a good example. All right. You can be delighted when you meet a person that is very kind, that is a great person, that is nice to you, that is nice to everyone, and you are delighted, all right, by that
Mhm.
person because you believe that that person has great quality, all right,
Uh-huh.
and that way of being delighted. All right. Now I'm here with you then, Natalia. Let's read
Mhm.
those two ideas, please.
Okay. Your father is very proud to see you finish your career, and the customer was pleased to buy our new product.
Great, perfect. Yes, so they are great examples. Everything seems to be great. Yes, reason, right? So I believe it is clear because the examples
Mhm.
are also very well done, Natalia. Let's
Yes.
continue. Remember, any questions, please, you just let me know.
Yes.
We're going to the next one, all right? And the next one is even easier. Opinion. Let's do the same, please, Natalia. The list of
Mhm.
adjectives and then the two examples.
Mhm. Clever, difficult, easy, foolish, hard, kind, nice, possible, impossible, right, wrong, silly. It's easy to play the piano, but it's very difficult to play well. He spoke so quickly that it was impossible to understand him.
Good. Now here, there's no reason involved. It is only opinion. After that adjective, you tell what do you think it's easy, right? It's easy to play the piano, but it's difficult to play well. That's my opinion, right? It's not reason. It's not reason of anything. It's not an explanation. It is just your opinion, right? Something
Mhm.
that you believe is difficult, something that you believe is easy, something that you believe is clever, right? That was going to be my correction. Remember, in this case, it's going to be
Clever.
like A, only A, exactly, clever.
Mhm.
What's something clever? Something smart, something intelligent,
Uh-huh.
right? That's clever. If you do something clever, right, you can say it is clever to accept that job offer because it is a great opportunity for you to study abroad, for example. I don't know, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's intelligent to accept that job opportunity, for example, right?
Uh-huh.
And foolish and silly, they are the opposite, right? They are the opposite of intelligent, the
Mm.
opposite of clever, right? It's foolish to refuse that job opportunity. It's silly to refuse that job opportunity. All right. So
Mhm.
something foolish or silly is something not intelligent because the consequences are going to be bad, are going to be negative. You were not thinking when you were doing that, or you are not thinking when you are acting in a foolish way. When you are
Mhm.
silly, all right, you don't think and you do things that are going to have negative consequences. All
Mhm.
right. And I believe the rest of them are very easy, right? Difficult, easy, hard, kind, nice, possible, impossible, right, wrong. I don't know if you have questions about those words, Natalia,
No.
right? It is very
Mhm.
simple. So you only tell me one of those adjectives and then you give me your opinion about what's nice, what's possible, what's kind, what's hard, what's silly, and so on and so forth. So with the
Mhm.
same logic, please, Natalia, pick two of these adjectives and give me two examples, please.
Mhm. In the document?
Yes, please, in the document,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
All right, I'm going there again. Check that to go to one of the last parts. Let's read please those examples. Natalia, I'm here with you.
It would be silly to not accept this gift. It's impossible to make a decision in this moment.
Okay, good. They are correct, but few details about this. All right, one very important thing. This is very important, but even though it's something that can happen, remember that in English we always need a subject. We only the only time in which we don't use a subject is when you use imperatives, right? Order, do your homework, right? But actually, we use a subject that is implicit. The subject there is always you, right? You do your homework, but we don't say that, right? We say do your homework. The only case. But in all the rest of the cases in English, we have to use a subject. When in Spanish we say something that doesn't have a subject, that's called impersonal subject. Okay, and anytime we use an impersonal subject, for example, we say this, right? Uh, that's an impersonal subject, right? But in English, we don't say, right? We don't say that. That's incorrect, right? What is the impersonal subject? It, right? It is hot. So anytime we don't have a subject in Spanish, we have to use it. Okay, so here it's always going to be it would be silly. All right, that's going to be very important. Now here, this is a minor mistake, but remember that the negative of the infinitive is not to not accept, is not to accept. Okay, the opposite, exactly. All right, just the opposite. Not to accept is the negative of the infinitive. All right, always in that order. If you make the order, it is going to be grammatically incorrect. Okay, so these two elements can be very important, but the rest of it is great. The way we're using silly is perfect. It would be silly not to accept this gift. Perfect. And here, just a minor mistake for preposition. It is impossible, that's the impersonal subject, right? It is correct. It is impossible to make a decision. Instead of in, we say at this moment. All right, to make a decision at this moment. At, because it is very precise. And when you say that this is happening at this specific moment, we are always going to use as for specification, okay, or for more precise location in time and in space. Okay, those two. That's it. I don't know if you have any questions. The way we're using the infinitives, it is correct. Let's just be careful with those details, Natalia. What do you say? Do you have any questions?
In this moment, that's incorrect. It's incorrect.
Sometimes you can use in this moment as the beginning of an idea, but when it is broad. All right, so in this specific moment, when it is a big thing, a big event that is happening, and you're saying that in this moment of this big event, this is happening, it is going to be good. All right, but when you use it something with more precision, like in this case, it is impossible to make a decision at this specific moment, it is going to be with at. Okay, so in a moment or in this moment, when it is clear that the period of time is broader and it's not very specific, all right, and it's usually used at the beginning of your idea. All right, in this moment, I'm just doing this and that. But in most of the cases, all right, at this moment is always going to be the best option in all the situations.
Okay.
All right, so there you go. Let's take a look at the last elements. One of them is just going to be for speaking, and one is going to be for practicing, because one of them is more important. Now, this is not as important. This is only going to be speaking, but this is related to something that you had before, Natalia. So let's read those nouns, please, because now we are not with adjectives. Now we are with nouns. Let's read the nouns and the four examples, please.
Ability, attempt, chance, desire, failure, need, opportunity, refusal, wish. They gave him an opportunity to escape. He was annoyed by her refusal to answer. I have no desire to be rich. There is no need to shout.
Great. Now remember, all of them now, Natalia, they are not verbs. Here, they are not working as verbs. Wish can be a verb, but here wish is not a verb. Okay, so the example cannot be I wish, no, incorrect, right? Wish is a noun. So I've always have one wish, right? Or I have 3 wishes for my birthday, right? So a wish can be a noun. Also need. Here, need is not a verb, okay? So you don't say I need, she needs. No, that's incorrect. To use need as a noun, you say right now I have the need to start with something new to feel better, right? Like necessity. So need is necessity. I have the necessity. I have the need. Okay, they are not verbs. Here they are acting as nouns. Okay, they are acting as nouns. That's why you have an opportunity. Her refusal, no desire, no need. They are not acting as verbs. Okay, to use this correctly, Natalia, we have to use them as nouns. Okay, as nouns. I don't know if you have questions about that, about the words, because I'm only going to ask you 2 examples, Natalia, in speaking, only in speaking this time. So what do you say?
There are more words about these nouns, or that's all the nouns.
I
For
think there are
example,
just a couple more. Yes, tell me, Natalia.
for example, if I want to say there is no reason to start the war.
Yes, exactly. There are words that can be sometimes synonyms for these words over here, or other ones that you find with the same logic. There are more words, but these are the most important ones that you can find over there. Perhaps you can add the idea of reason. It is correct. Also, necessity can be over here. Or not desire, I was going to say desire, but it is also over there. So you can find actually a lot of nouns. If you find general nouns that can be followed by an action, it is going to be very likely that they are going to be part of this list. This is
Okay.
just a list of the most important ones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what do you say? What 2 examples can you give me with any of these nouns in the list?
Mm, mm, Maybe my friend have an ability to play tennis. The ability to play tennis.
It is correct. Only one little mistake, but at the beginning, not in the example, in the thing you're using. If you say my friend, you don't say have, right? You say has. So
Yes,
the only
has.
thing, right? Good. My friend has the ability to play tennis.
Tennis.
Perfect. Very good. Correct. One more, please. Only one more.
Mm, the company um, give me the opportunity to work remotely.
Okay, it is correct, but also again, one little detail. Be careful with the conjugation. If you say the company is one company, but you choose better, if you tell me that is present, it cannot be give, right? You say gives. But if you say gives, you're telling me that that's routine. But I don't believe that it's a routine that the company gives you the opportunity, right? I believe that is one specific moment. So you can use present perfect. The company is giving me, right? The company is giving me the opportunity to work remotely. Okay, that's my only correction. You're using the infinitives correctly, but be careful. You always have to think if the conjugation is going to be in present simple, s of the third person with he, she, it, right? If it's not a habit and it's something that is happening now and only now because it's a unique event, don't use simple present, use present continuous, right? Is giving, is starting, is doing anything, right? Present continuous. And if you see that it is not present or something that is happening, of course, and it happened already, in that case, you can use past. Actually, if that happened, the company gave me, right, the opportunity to work remotely. If that
Mhm.
already happened, you're still working remotely, yes, but the opportunity already happened. Okay, so always that analysis, but the way where you're using the nouns with infinitives are great. I don't
Mhm.
know if you have questions about that, Natalia.
No.
All right, good. And the last thing, please, to finish, because now I'm going to need to leave the class. That's why I was asking you for starting the class before. This,
Mhm.
please, this is going to be, we're going to read this now, but it is going to be for you, all right, the homework to write only 3 examples in the document. Not now, it is going to be for Wednesday, okay? But let's read to be sure that everything is clear. Natalia, read the words and let's read the 3 examples, please.
Mhm. Someone, no one, anyone, something, nothing, anything, somebody, nobody, anybody. When I'm traveling, I always take something to read. I was all alone. I had no one to talk to. There is hardly anything to do in most of these small towns.
Great. This is actually the most common usage for infinitive and nouns. Okay,
Mhm.
so you say, right? I know a place, it's a great place, but do you know if there's anything to do in that place? Right? I believe that there's nothing to do over there, or that there isn't anything to do over there. Okay, so you always conjugate these indefinite nouns that can be indefinite nouns for objects or indefinite nouns for people, right? But you can always follow that idea with infinitive to complement also your noun. Okay, someone to talk. I need someone to talk deeply. I'm tired of superficial conversations, right? There's no one to start a project with. I need a partner to start a project, right? There's nothing to do in this place. It is really boring. I don't know what to do, right? So the combination, it's a lot. It's going to be up to you. I'm only asking for 3 examples, please, Natalia.
Mhm.
It's going to be one example with this one. It can be someone, anyone, no one. One example with think, something, nothing, anything, any of those 3. And one example with body. Okay, somebody, nobody, anybody. But only one of those 2. 3 examples in total only, Natalia. I don't know if you have any questions about that. That's something I'm going to check on Wednesday, along with the corrections for your body paragraph. And we're going to continue working with the last lessons, because these are going to be our last 2 classes, Natalia, on Wednesday and Friday, the last classes for this course. Then we have the last course that is going to be A12, that is going to begin on Monday, next Monday. And
Mhm.
after that last course, after those 8 last classes that we have over there, then you're going to have the preparation course. Okay, but we are in the
Mhm.
final part. It is important that if you have any doubts, any questions about anything, you can let me know. That you can write the examples, that you can work with your essay. And again, any questions, it is going to be a good time because these are going to be our last weeks together.
Mhm. And the difference between the first column, someone, no one, anyone, and the third column, somebody, nobody, anybody, is
In this
because you
case,
use the
uh-huh,
sentence in negative and affirmative.
actually, just the difference between these is not real. There is no difference between someone and somebody. All right. Some people believe that this is more specific to one person, but no, it is the same. But the difference is more horizontally than vertically. Okay, vertically, someone is the same as somebody, no one is the same as nobody, anyone is the same as anybody. Okay, but horizontally, yes, someone is for affirmative ideas, no one is for affirmative ideas, but with a negative meaning, and anyone is for negative ideas, for negative sentences. Okay, so
Mm.
one more time. Someone affirmative sentences with a positive meaning, no one affirmative sentences with a negative meaning, anyone negative sentences. The same over here. Affirmative sentences with a positive meaning, affirmative sentences with a negative meaning, and negative sentences, anybody. and it happens the
Mm,
same in the middle. Okay,
mhm.
that's going to be the main difference over there. But again, in terms of groups, they are the same in that case.
Ah, okay. Mhm.
All right, there you go. So let's finish over here, please. I'm
Mhm.
sharing the poll for today. I'll see you then on Wednesday. All right. Any questions, please let me know. I'm going to be paying attention to that. All right. Have a good night.
Okay.
Enjoy these days, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay. See you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye
You're
bye.
welcome.